Is claiming the Democratic Party's presidential nomination after winning 4 more contests.
She will be the first woman to lead a major political party's bid for the White House. Clinton won New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, and California. Bernie Sanders won North Dakota and Montana. Clinton tried to sound a conciliatory note or tone during her victory rally in New York.
This has been a hard-fought, deeply felt campaign. But whether you supported me or Senator Sanders or one of the Republicans, we all need to keep working toward a better, fairer, stronger America.
President Obama called both Clinton and rival Bernie Sanders. He congratulated Clinton, did not formally endorse her, though. Sanders vowed to fight on.
I know that the fight in front of us is a very, very steep fight, but we will continue to fight for every vote and every delegate we can get. And tonight I had a very gracious call from Secretary Clinton and congratulated her on her victories tonight.
Senator Sanders will meet with President Obama at the White House tomorrow and hold a campaign rally in Washington, D.C.
Well, if you include superdelegates, Hillary Clinton's got about 2,500, more than the 2,383 she needs. Bernie Sanders far short, about 1,663 right now. But without superdelegates in the count, Hillary Clinton falls short. Bernie Sanders argues those superdelegates don't really count until the party convention next month because they could vote their conscience, and he hopes it will be for him. Both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, though, starting to sound gracious. Good morning to Dr. Jeff Engel, director of the Center for Presidential History at SMU. And you've said that, you know, Hillary Clinton being the nominee is history-making, but almost a yawn compared to 8 years ago when Barack Obama became the first black nominee.
Yeah, we have to remember, I mean, this is the first time that we've seen a woman as the head of a major party going for the presidential nomination, and that is historic. But I think if we compare it to the tremendous history of 2008 when Barack Obama as the first African-American became a nominee, frankly, I think that shows that there's a somewhat bigger divide in this country over race than there is over gender. Now, we also have to remember that it's really quite remarkable to see a Democratic Party put forward an African-American and then a woman in the next cycle. It's tremendous change.
It's almost, though, that Hillary Clinton's been around so long. I heard one woman political commentator say, women don't view her as a woman, they view her as Hillary Clinton.
Well, she's been there, and let's remember, she's lived in the White House for 8 years. And so when we hear people talk about insider candidates, it's hard to be an outsider candidate when you've had 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as your home address.
Right. So Senator Sanders, though sounding a little bit less harsh, not criticizing her for taking money from big banks, not criticizing her for giving huge speeches and so, you know, very lucrative speeches, and sounds like he knows the party's over.
He does. I mean, last night he did not come out, obviously, and say that we're going to end the campaign. But today they are reported to be laying off a whole number of campaign workers. And I really think we need to remember that, you know, this is something that a person has dreamed about their entire life. Even though Bernie Sanders was not a member of the Democratic Party until recently, he certainly, as every senator does, thought about being president. I mean, picture the State of the Union when you've got every senator and every congressman in the Congress watching the president. Every single one of them at some point thinks, that could be me up there.
Right.
And this is the moment where he's going to have to take a step back and say that dream, however small, that dream, which was closer than he ever thought possible, is now over. So if we go back a couple years to the same situation, 2008, when Hillary Clinton lost the nomination to Barack Obama, it took about 3, 4, 5 days for her to be able to essentially gather the momentum and also call all their supporters and say thank you. So at the end of the day, what matters is that he supports her, not when he supports her.
Okay, here's breaking news. Let's listen to Donald Trump from last night.
I am going to give a major speech on probably Monday of next week, and we're going to be discussing all of the things that have taken place with the Clintons. I think you're going to find it very informative and very, very interesting.
Right, and what is off camera there, he's using a teleprompter. Why is that breaking news?
Well, first of all, it's breaking news because he said he never would. He had ridiculed other policymakers and other politicians for using a teleprompter and vowed that he never would. And I think what this tells us is that as he tries, as he said, to become more presidential, to become more the traditional nominee, he realizes he needs to stay on script. And the Republican Party elite, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, the Senate and congressional leaders respectively, they've come out and said that you need to tone it down and get back on message.
And really quickly, we need to listen to Hillary Clinton from last night, who is really setting the tone for what is to come and where she will draw the line.
And he's not just trying to build a wall between America and Mexico. He's trying to wall off Americans from each other. When he says, let's make America great again, that is code for let's take America backwards.
Is that going to sell with the Donald Trump? Everybody's reaching. Even Donald Trump last night said, I welcome the Bernie Sanders supporters into my campaign.
Yeah, well, so this is really important. So let me put my historian cap on at the moment and say that when we have an election where one candidate says, I'm talking about the future, and the other candidate says, I'm talking about the past, the future candidate almost always wins. And a good script of this was from 1996 when Bill Clinton ran for president the second time and talked about a bridge to the 21st century. Bob Dole, his Republican candidate, talked about returning to a better America. The election was over at that point. Americans want people to talk about the future. So the more Hillary Clinton can say, Donald Trump is sending us back, I'm talking about the 21st century and beyond, that's really a point in her favor.
It's nice to reminisce about the good old days, but the good old days are old.
People want to reminisce about the good old days. They don't want to vote for the good old days.
Right. Thank you.
Good to see you.
As always.